Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Note Closer Show. As always, I'm Scott Carson, excited to be here with you today. Hopefully, you're having an amazing week. It is kind of a rainy, dreary Wednesday here in Austin, Texas, which is kind of surprising from the 100-degree temperature. But I mean, the hot temperature we usually get. But hey, I'm glad to be here in Austin. And you know, I've been traveling quite a bit over the last couple of weeks, and you meet some amazing people. Especially some of the great places I've been, from whether it's here in Austin for the New Media Summit or in California for the Magnify Your Wealth Summit. It just seemed to attract great people. And I am so excited to have a very special guest today that I met at New Media Summit. She is a master healer and money karma expert. It's our own dear Abby this morning. The one, the only Abby Rohrer joining us from Annapolis this morning. So, hey, good morning, Abby. Welcome to the Note Closer Show.
Good morning, Scott. Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here.
I guarantee we're going to get some great questions from my audience and our extended Note family out here, because that's, one of the things I think entrepreneurs are always looking for are ways to, attract financing, attract money, make sales, things like that. And I loved it because I got to hear your pitch at New Media Summit. We talked a little bit afterwards as well, and excited to have you on the show here talking about money karma. So why don't you, before we dive into that a little bit, why don't you take a few seconds, share who you are, your background, and kind of your expertise and how it pertains to kind of entrepreneurs.
Okay, thank you. I'm a master healer. I actually came to the money karma thing through an unusual route. So my money karma actually came out of an intuitive process that I experienced in 2009. I was already teaching people how to self-heal emotional things like anxiety, compulsive behaviors, and various things. And I intuitively was shown how to do energy healing. And then I was taken through a process of learning about karma and learning about what happens in our nervous system when we're holding on to anxiety and the karma that feeds that anxiety. So I actually came to this in a slightly unusual way, I guess. And what happened is that as I began working with people and interacting with clients that I already had and sharing my work with them, I started noticing money wins, some big money wins. And so over time, some of my clients, I was seeing some of my anxiety clients were having great, amazing, and pretty fast wins in terms of changing jobs, getting raises. But then I started noticing something else with my entrepreneurial clients. Their money wins began to really shift, and they were getting big $20,000 wins. One of my clients, her first money win was like a $90,000 sale, and she went on to win her company's top sales award the next year for all of Canada.
Wow.
And the thing is, she had been struggling right before then to make her quota. So this was an amazing, dramatic shift.
That is going from having struggles to making quotas and things like that to winning the company sales thing. So what do you, is there a way that you kind of talk with people or what's the word I'm looking for? Diagnose somebody who's dealing with money problems. What's kind of what do you see before you? Are people just struggling to pay bills? Is struggling to get deals done? Is it just anxiety keeps them from success? What's kind of your formula, or how do you kind of diagnose somebody who's having money problems?
Yeah, well, I have a free quiz. I'll tell you about that. I have a quiz at moneykarmaquiz.com. It's a free quiz, but there are a bunch of questions there like, well, your audience will see those questions. But what I want to say is people come to me often because they can't get to the next level, or they're kind of phobic or procrastinating from taking sales actions or reaching out to make the next deal, right? They're kind of holding back. They might be afraid of being more visible. They bring a lot of different things. Some people are just afraid to take the next step forward that could really catapult them. So what happens when I work with people is that they stop being so afraid. And really what's happening is we think this is all about our thoughts. But in fact, I have found that so much of what we're dealing with in terms of fear is actually happening in our core, in our nervous system. And so my work focuses on that nervous system piece to clear that out, because once that's cleared out, the head automatically clears out.
So you're talking like the stress is on them, keeps them from basically taking those massive step forwards, or they just they have this kind of a facade in front of them that they can't break through?
Yeah, all of those things. Some of the things that happen is they just find themselves procrastinating or avoiding taking that next action that would get them out there, right? Or that would get them visible, or that would get them to invest in the next deal that would be the right deal for them. So they find themselves holding back. Sometimes they find themselves hiding or not being willing to even email their list. Is that something that your audience struggles with, those kinds of things?
You are sounding like me. Like I say, it's like the whole thing of like send the damn email or reach out to your audience or drop an email blast out to it. So it's and you and I haven't talked about that at all. It's just funny you're saying that, but it's funny that people out there that are watching this morning, we've already got a comment or two out here. Let's see pull up the comments here from people out there. Hey, Brady Durr, good morning to you. Hey, Laura Blanc. Hey, Leah Griggs. We got people all across the country tuning in. But let's talk about that a little bit. So people a lot of times will avoid their biggest fears, right? And so
right.
Does that do something to their nervous system, living in fear? Is it like is it stress thing? Unhealthy feelings?
I think the thing is that what people are aware of is that they're kind of putting it off. They're not quite ready. When they get this thing done, they'll take that next action. But what they're not aware of, it can be very subtle. It can feel like a wall inside of us. It can feel like a roller coaster when I just think about pressing that send button. So I kind of look at it more from the inner experience as opposed to, well, it's stress or it's this other word that we're used to hearing about. The thing is, I've lived this myself. So I've experienced it in my own nervous system. And what I've learned is that it wasn't my head, and I've learned this from my clients too. It's not really, I think about 80% of it is coming from what's going on in here rather than what's going on in here. So it can feel like a lot of different things. It can feel like, oh my God, I'm afraid to look at my bank statement right now, or I'm afraid to call my accountant because what are they going to tell me that am I going to have a big tax bill? It's all these ways in which we are kind of pushing away from the money things we need to deal with, or the actions that would bring us more money.
That's a good way. Push away the money, and if they push away the uncomfortable money things, and in turn that leaves money from coming to us because it's all kind of connected together then, right? That's a huge point. Pushing away the oh no's also pushes away success. Wow.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, because it reminds me that this one client that I had who got that big sales win, I talked about the 90K sale. That was like a very fast win for her. And what we were clearing out was her resistance to hearing no, which was also basically showing up in a resistance to hearing yes, right? So when you're afraid of hearing no, you can also be pushing the yeses away.
I think that's true, because especially in our business, the more no's you get, the more yeses you get eventually, because it becomes a numbers game, right? So, especially in sales, the more no, I always made it a game, because we reach out to a lot of banks with what we do. So you get asset managers and bankers, no, we don't have anything at this time. No, we don't have anything time. But that one yes is all worth it. But a lot of people are afraid of the no's, like you said, so they just don't do it because of the fact is, and then they don't see any results whatsoever. And this, I can see this being prevalent in just about any type of sales or monetary thing, accounting, dealing with your bankers, refinancing a house, trying to close on a big trade, all that good stuff can go on the same thing, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So what are some of the ways that you like to help people, or what are some simple things people can do to help clear out that negativity or that anxiety to help them kind of overcome those obstacles to find more money? And I know you said something about a lot of people are here and they want to be here, and they have to, and I'm a big believer they have to grow into that aspect to be a bigger person sometimes too. So I may be wrong, I don't know, but what are some of the things that you like to share, or some of the stories that you can share with people overcoming those obstacles to grow into those people, grow into a bigger self, I guess you could say?
Yeah, I think we all need to grow into the next level, right? But part of what can stop that is this feeling inside. So I have a few simple tips for people. Of course, I'm working on the energetic level, right? So I can't give them tips right now to deal with that level, but I'd be happy to teach them how to deal with that level in one of my programs. But here are a couple of quick tips that they can do to handle it in the moment for themselves. Okay, so the first one would be to, when those fear thoughts come in, to just decline, view them as an invitation, just like a dinner invitation to someplace you don't want to go. So don't take them so seriously, right? So if I get a fear about, okay, I need to reach out to this banker tomorrow, and I'm maybe not freaking out about it, but just feeling like I want to avoid it a little bit, maybe just say, well, I decline the invitation to go into fear about that. And then say, so I decline the invitation, and always say it is done. So that's tip number one. Tip number two is that we tend to carry a lot of emotions for other people. We carry other people's fears, right?
Oh my gosh, we let other people's fears affect us in a lot of ways, don't we? Wow, this is good stuff. I'm loving this.
Absolutely. So the next step is you could do this daily. You could do this every night before you go to bed, or every morning when you wake up. Release what isn't yours. So this is, it's a little bit of a kind of an energy tip. So just tell your own spirit, your own self, your own higher self, to gather up all the energy of fear or other emotions that don't belong to you. Just gather it all up and send it up to the sky, or send it up to the universe, or send it up to God, whatever you feel is right for you. And then say it is done. It sort of like puts the stamp of completion on it. So that's my second tip, is to just, let's keep, all of us in any context, let's keep clearing out the energy of the emotions that we're carrying for other people. So that's my second tip. And the third one is to check inside yourself and see if you're playing small because you're afraid of somebody else not approving of you, or withdrawing their affection, or shining, if you're afraid of shining more than someone else. Because that's a big thing in our families, right? In our history. A lot of childhood stuff can fuel this. I like to talk about the childhood stuff, but I also like to talk about the soul level, unconscious soul level stuff that we don't even know is in there. But it does show up in our lives in ways that we don't recognize. So it's really important to start looking at, how are we playing small so that somebody else doesn't, feel uncomfortable, or push us away or get upset because we are starting to take bigger actions, make more money, and just really, become more public about our gifts and how we want to move forward in our success.
That's so huge, because I know a lot of people deal with their friends or families, especially as they're growing as entrepreneurs. I think society itself plays a big part of this, because a lot of, especially with negativity, a lot of people are negative out there. And, oh, what are you doing? You're not trying to do your own thing? Oh, are you too good to hang out with us anymore? Because I don't want to go drink beer every night. I want to go work on my business, or I want to work on my side hustle. Oh, you're so good. I've had friends here, students that have dealt with that with friends and families who called them. Oh, one of our good friends their friends started calling him, "Hey, Mr. Buffett," And it initially started off as general ribbing, but a couple of them became quite ugly about it. And I think you're so right. A lot of us worry about what our friends or our families will say. And it's some of it's unfounded, I think, but it's that whole anxiety aspect of things that feeds into aspect of it. But that's huge. What are, man, I think a lot of people deal with that. The fear of success is basically what it comes down to, right, Abby?
Right. Fear of success and fear of what other people will think of us, or what we think they're going to think of us. But really what's happening is how they judge themselves in relation to the actions that we're taking. Mm-hmm. Right. So when we see somebody else stepping up and moving forward, often people get into, I'll judge them because inside I feel like, well, maybe I want to do that, but I'm afraid to.
Yes, I'm scared. So I'm going to lash out and be evil or ugly to the people that are working and struggling to make themselves better. And we fear that. And I think it's the thing. We send an email blast out and we get one ugly email back. Somebody making fun of our email or bashing us or cussing us out. I've had that happen just the other day, which is kind of funny. I just like, whatever. I don't care. Thanks for unsubscribing is the way I look at it. But not everybody has that thick of skin, and we have to kind of build a little bit thicker skin as we grow in our business, right? And especially with money coming in. That's
right. Right. So it's for some of us, we're a little more sensitive, right? It's harder to say, oh, well, that's just one person. Mm-hmm. And we tend to focus on that one person and that bad feedback, as opposed to all the other people out there who are waiting to hear the next, hear from us the next time about the next opportunity or whatever.
Right, because there are people out there looking for opportunity, especially what we do in the note game. There are investors that have money sitting on the sidelines not making anything. They're looking for an opportunity. There's people that are frustrated with a fix and flip game and what we do, or other types of real estate investing that want to get in the note game. So this is very, very prevalent. So let's recap those 3 tips again. All right. Okay. What was the first one again?
Okay. The first one is to decline the invitations to go into fear. So consider fear as just an invitation. A fearful thought, it's an invitation. You could try to decline it. Try to decline it 2 or 3 times. If you can't decline it, then that means you might want to call me or find a way to deal with the next level down, which might be the energy level, right?
So one is letting it go, right?
Right.
Let it go.
Let it go. Right.
Okay.
Tip number 2 is to release all the emotions and all the energy of all this that doesn't belong to you. So ask your spirit to gather up all the energy of the fear or the resistance or the avoidance of taking the next step that doesn't belong to you, and send it up there to the sky or to the universe. And remember with these things to say, it is done. Okay?
It is done. And doing it, like you said, either at night or in the morning. Where do you see your clients? Is it just where they have the most amount of energy of doing it in the evening before they go to bed, maybe to clear their mind so they can sleep better, or in the morning to kind of restart their day? What do you see?
Well, I think it's good to do it both times. It's a 2-second thing, really. Just do it, and you will see a lightening of the load. Mm-hmm. Okay? It doesn't really matter when you do it, but it's good to do it at both times, right? Because some of us wake up in the morning sometimes and it's like, oh my God, I don't know how to take the first step this morning. And some people automatically go into fear first thing in the morning about the actions that they know they should take today to move their business forward, right? Mm-hmm.
That's the truth. It's we get so bogged down with everything coming in, we don't know which way to begin. We don't know what that first step is to be the most impactful step of the or action that we take a day or each morning to get to where we want to be at the end of the day. And I think a lot of us get so bogged down in looking at to-do lists, it kind of bombards us. And we end up doing things on the to-do list to avoid the big, as I like to say, the big rocks of the day, right? The big financial things.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the third thing was to pay attention and just notice. Notice if you're playing small to in order to keep somebody else from being uncomfortable, or because you're afraid that they will withdraw their affection or withdraw their approval from you. And notice if you start to feel kind of like a small kid when you encounter that kind of thought. So those are the 3 tips.
I love it, because I can hear people talking. I mean, from people, I'm just thinking of students or investors I've met or people I've networked with, and I always pay attention to what people are saying. And when they, ask them what they're doing or what they're invested in. Oh, I'm only doing this. Somebody reached out to me the other day. Oh, I only have like 10 grand. Should I wait to start investing? And I'm like, no, you can start doing things now using other people's money. And they're like, oh, that invitation like sets it in like a 500-pound weight on them. You know what I mean? And I'm like, well, have you ever reached out to your database? Have you ever put an email together? Have you posted online? And a lot of people struggle with just doing it because they're afraid of the success aspect of things. And so it's funny. I'm loving what you're doing. I'm loving what this is going on here.
So there are a lot of reasons why people go into fear, right? Sometimes it's about fear of success. Sometimes it's about fear of failure. Sometimes it's about fear of succeeding beyond my father, right? Sometimes we've got all these loyalties that we're not even. There's so many things in this whole picture. So one of the things in this picture are the loyalties we carry to other family members, or maybe to our lineage, on one side as a whole. Maybe nobody in that side of my family ever made over $50,000 a year, right? So one of the things I also do with people is I look at their money ceilings, I look at their sales ceilings, their customer ceilings, their maybe the number of deal ceilings, right? For your particular, for everyone listening here, there are all kinds of things that can be cleared out and lifted. So that's one piece of my work. Another piece is to actually drain the anxious feelings right out of the nervous system. So to neutralize those feelings and drain them. So that's another whole piece. I'm talking about the energetics now.
No, I love that. So how do you drain? How do you? This is great. How are you draining that negativity? How are you draining that stuff?
So that's the energy healing piece of this, right? So the method that came to me intuitively, this is in 2009, this came to me, and then over a period of years, I was shown karma pieces, childhood pieces, all these different pieces that keep us bound. And I use this particular energy healing method that is my method. It's called Karma Clearing Code. I use that, and it's some fairly simple statements, but I need to, in order to teach somebody how to do that for themselves, I need to convey the healings to them so that they can use them on themselves. But basically, I use very simple tools and statements to literally drain that anxious energy out of the nervous system. Because basically what I have experienced myself personally and with my clients is that we have what I call this anxiety load in the nervous system. And maybe some people have 10 anxiety loads, right? Some people might have more. And literally with some simple statements, you can feel the energy of your anxiety draining away. And there are all kinds of, there are multiple reasons and healings that I apply in order to get that anxiety load to go to peace, to neutralize, and actually drain out. And that's an amazing piece of, maybe the most amazing piece of the work, right? Because once this feeling in your body is completely calm, you show up and take your actions, your business actions, from a totally different place. You're not guarding anymore against the no's, right? You're not pushing the yeses away. You're willing to show up like it's a new day without the baggage of what's been holding you back in the past. And that's what allows people to start to really make those bigger deals when they're not dragging all the past and the anxiety that's in their core along with them into every day, trying to figure out how to manage that, right?
Mm-hmm. You're not dragging those beliefs or those fears or that like luggage. And it just feels like some people that are like the whole what I want to say, the Debbie Downers are just dragging all this anxiety with them because it's like a suitcase, a heavy bag that they get when they're around people, just like, oh, just I can't handle you. I've got to get away from you because you're dragging me down like a magnet. And I'm a part of that aspect. But I think what you're just saying there, people have a lot of things to do. So I imagine I just had this image of you saying, talking about keywords and phrases and drawing energy from that. Are you like the programmer for the Winter Soldier from Marvel? Have you seen that movie? No?
No.
Okay, you got to go watch it because there's a point where he takes this guy, normal guy, and he starts reading off phrases from a book. And he gets like 20 phrases, and suddenly he becomes this this just badass Marvel, I won't say hired gun, but kind of hired gun, hired killer that goes out and does all these amazing things and stuff like that. Not for good, but I imagine you being the good Winter Soldier programmer there with phrases, getting people to drain anxiety. Because if we take that anxiety away, people just are like just shooting out of a cannon to find success and go make things happen, right?
Right. Imagine, what could you do? I think everybody can ask themselves, what would you do right now if that anxiety load, if that baggage was just taken away? Mm-hmm. Then how would you show up in a new moment to really go after your dreams? And so a lot of what this work does is it closes the gap between where you are now and what your vision is for what you want to achieve, right? So, it could be a financial goal. It could be a money goal, right? It could be, I want to close 10 deals before, the end of the year.
Right.
Could be anything. Mm-hmm. But basically it closes the gap and it stops people from holding back so much out of fear, maybe even fear they just don't even know they have.
Mm. So do you recommend people having vision boards and outlining their goals for the year or next year as kind of a way to kind of look at things and then kind of take those goals and then reflect back on where they're at now, what their beliefs are now, and kind of seeing where it feeds in the middle? Sorry.
You could absolutely do that. I do think people should have goals, but the vision board thing, that's not really my thing.
Sure,
right?
Right.
My thing would be more like you could see if you can see yourself achieving that outcome, right? See if you can see yourself achieving that outcome and just notice what's happening in your body. That's really what the key is here, is to notice, notice where you're triggered, notice where you go into fear, and notice what's happening in your body. And notice that fear thought up here actually has a place where it may live in your core. And then instead of ignoring it like one usually does, right? Instead of ignoring it, really notice it, identify where it is, and then rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. So that you really start to pay attention to what's going on in your body, because that stuff that's going on in your body can be energetically cleared out. And then leaving you free to be able to achieve those dreams. So it's like closing the gap in a different way, right? I'm a little bit different than people who, vision boards and all that. I'm a little bit different. I'm really about draining that energy, neutralizing it and draining it out.
Well, that's a good thing, because if you drain on the negative, you got positive that replaces yourself, and you're running on. It's like running on. Are you going to put premium gas in your car? Or are you going to put something that's like crappy old gas? That stuff that's been sitting around forever. Gas goes bad. Our emotions go bad. They eat at us. They affect our health. They affect our energy. Affect us ability to do things. Oh, I'm so loving this. This is so good. This is such great stuff, because I'm a big believer in this stuff. And one of the big things we do here in the office, I do at the house, like if you have something bad happens, because we all have bad things happen, right, Abby? I'm a big believer, like, okay, 30 seconds, that's all we got time to bitch about it, and let's move on. Let's not waste any more energy on that aspect, and move on and figure out what the silver lining is of that cloud or whatever it is, because it was probably meant for us not to be that aspect, or not deal with that investor, or not close that deal. there's always a yin to the yang, right? Aspect
Right.
of it. But that's so I love it. Just draining that negative, draining that anxiety, but picturing that. It's so thing. I'm literally seeing things here, like picturing you closing on that deal, that huge, what's it feel like to be the salesperson of the year, and that emotions that come with it. I can literally, you can feel it, honestly, because it does change your whole aura or color or aspect of things out there. That's, oh man, I guarantee you got to share some stories. I guarantee you've got some great stories of people that you've worked with that have gone through that and just literally, right. You got any examples or anything, case studies? I know you can't probably share names. We know that, but anyway.
Sure. So I had a client who, as I cleared for her, so first of all, another one of the things that I do with my coaching clients and solopreneurs who they have to set their fees, right? And so one of the things that I do is I help them figure out what their fee alignment is. So, what they want to charge, right? Or what they energetically feel they can charge. I look at those kinds of things. And what I've noticed is that as I clear out the energy, their fee alignment, what they're energetically set to charge, rises. So I had one particular client whose numbers, just as we cleared this anxiety stuff out of the nervous system, her ability to double and triple her fees, it just kept climbing to the point where she doubled and tripled her business. All because I don't want to say all because I cleared the anxiety from her, but what was happening is when you match clearing this stuff out with taking action in the world, that's when the magic happens, right? So it's not just about the energy. It's not just about clearing the energy. That's a big piece of the puzzle, right? But without taking action in the world, right? Without doing the things you tell your audience to do, clearing the energy is just not going to materialize results alone in the world. So I'm a firm believer in we have to clear the energy and take action in the world. So that's one thing. It's really about that. I'm trying to think of, so I also worked with a client who built a large real estate portfolio, millions of dollars in real estate portfolio, while she had a corporate job, and within like a couple of years had built a pretty good, like maybe $3 million real estate portfolio during the time she had a corporate job, because she was dealing with the things on the inside that would have probably stopped her from taking action and had stopped her previously from taking action.
This is good stuff. I love it. I absolutely love it. Because that's one of the things when I have people coming for coaching, one of the things we talk about, okay, what kind of goals do you want to make for the next 12 months? What's that number look like? And figuring out, okay, what's that come down on an hour by hour basis? What's that got to be? What's your hour got to be worth to you? And then to have them compare that to, okay, what are you making right now? Because there's a big difference usually between somebody's making 25 or 30 bucks an hour, wanting to be making like $100 an hour to live that aspect of things. And people struggle with that gap in a variety of reasons. And I'm oh, this is so good. I'm so enjoying this. Oh my gosh, this is good stuff. And I got a lot of hearts and things out there from people out there loving this too as well. They're good stuff. So, but that's so, yeah, where we're at today, what we're used to, because maybe with the people we surround ourselves with, the job we're in, and where we want to be in the future, knowing that difference in hour, because nobody's going to value your hour until you start valuing your hour, right, Abby?
Right. But then what happens when you notice that, okay, I'm making $25 an hour now, and my goal is to make $100 an hour. But when I think about that, my heart sinks, right? Or it starts to pound, and I just can't see how I can get there, right? Or how about the people who they've already tried and taken action after action after action to try to get there, and they still can't get there? That's a signal that there's something going on energetically, right? If you take all the logical actions and it's not happening, there's a signal there about what's going on inside that needs to get cleared out, right?
Is it come down to people that, you know, they live for the weekends? They want to do bigger things, but maybe they live for the weekends and they have to do that as a way to make themselves feel good, or it's a difference in the actions they take on a daily basis. It's just seeing those things, getting through those things. Because I know there's a variety of different things. Hi, Abby?
Yeah, so I look at all the energy behind it, right? So to me, you might say, well, I've been doing this for a while. Maybe you have some people out there that are saying, I've been doing this for a while and I'm still struggling. And I've taken all the logical steps. And there's no logical reason why I can't get over this hump, right? I can't get over this money hump, or I can't make my goal, right? But they've taken all the logical actions. There could be a money ceiling. There could be a number of deals sailing. There could be, I don't want to outshine my dad, right? I don't want to earn more than my dad. Like a 3-year-old inside of us, really, a 3-year-old mind inside of us saying, oh, I could never step beyond my dad, right? So, and there's so many different things, and that I could go on and on.
Oh,
there are a lot of different things.
There's a lot of different, and everybody's got their own unique reason or own.
That's right.
Everybody's different. I think we have to take ourselves where we're at, because nobody's walking in our shoes except us. And so I think, how much does it, or do you see this happen where people are constantly comparing themselves to their competition or others, and we all have different circumstances that hold us back or things like that? I'm sure you deal with that as well too, right?
Right. So everybody has, as you said, everybody has their own unique puzzle when it comes to, some people don't struggle with money stuff at all, right? They're just soaring, and we see them around us. And then there are some people who, try as they might, they just can't get what I call to the next level, or over the hump. I like to call it over the hump.
Right.
And but each of the people who might be struggling with money, each one has their own unique picture, right? It's not as simple as saying, okay, it's always this belief or it's always that belief. It might be something that is kind of seemingly illogical on a certain level, but it's very logical on the deep unconscious level. I like to think there's logic in everything. And we just have to find out what level the logic of, is living on to figure it out. So, yeah.
This is what questions, guys, gals that are watching on Facebook Live this morning. What questions? I've seen a lot of people loving this, enjoying this, joining us here as well. Laura, Casey, Gail, George. George says, down with the downers. Laura Blunk's enjoying this. Good stuff. Faquan, Greg, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Natasha. We got some people out in Florida riding out a hurricane this morning, joining us on the Note Closer show out there. You guys that are joining us from there, be careful out there, everybody. So what's the best way for people to get a hold of you? You said you have an online quiz, I guess, a starting point for them to go kind of figure out some things, right?
Right. I have an online quiz. It's really fast, like a 3-minute quiz to find out if money karma is a challenge for you. And that's at moneykarmaquiz.com. And so there are, I think there are 12 questions, and you just basically go in there and see if any of these things apply to you, and they'll give you clues. And then, and from there, you'll get some emails from me, and you can also, you can reach out to me by replying to any of those emails, and that'd be the easiest way. Or you can go to my website, which is abbyrohrer.com, ABBYROHRER.com.
That's awesome. We'll have both your website and the quiz in the show notes and on our blogs and stuff like that out there as well. Thanks. Too, for stuff out there. Oh, man, you've been doing this for a while, Abby, which is awesome. You've helped a lot of people out there. I love the stories you shared, and it's like a tuning fork going off, bang, on some things out there that I hear. So if you guys are listening to this, take a few minutes, take 3 minutes, go to moneykarmaquiz.com, take the quiz, see what's holding you back, see what kind of hurdles you are maybe putting in front of yourself that aren't there, and what find out if there's some ways to help you overcome the anxiety that's holding us all back, or overcoming those obstacles to really help take it to the next level. Because I know look, I know that mentality plays a big part. I know when I've had a good mental state where I haven't had that negative energy inside of me, that negative core around there, I get a whole lot more done. And look, I struggle with ups and downs just like everybody else down there. I may not always show my downside. And most people are like, man, Scott, how do you have all the energy? I'm like, well, because I just don't try to focus on the negative. You know, I try to get rid of it. I may not be singing Let It Go, but it's not everybody can make that decision themselves. Sometimes they need some guidance to go a long way. That's why we've got Abby Rohrer here to talk about that, right, Abby?
Thanks.
You're welcome. Good stuff there. So once again, check out abbyrohrer.com. Check her out there. You can also go to moneykarmaquiz.com. I've put those links in the Facebook comments out there. Abby, thank you so much for coming on the Note Closer Show today. Very impactful, very powerful. I guarantee you'll get a lot of people to enjoy this. I've enjoyed it, and I guarantee we're going to have you come back on at a later time. Maybe do something with our mastermind group as a whole and go from there. How's that sound?
Sounds great. I'd love to. Thanks so much for having me, Scott. It was great.
Thank you, Abby. All right. Have a great day, all right?
Thanks.